in the present situation. So he's looking pretty solid here. That's a present. Lots of people looking at him. Lots of people, like even people that don't like him, are watching every move he makes. Have you noticed that? He's like pretty much the most watched presidency, maybe, of the whole world, I would say. Yeah. Okay, that, and of course the Macron's crazy situation, what with him being married to his own father and that kind of weirdness. Look down that rabbit hole, people. You want a rabbit hole to look down? Okay, so past, present, near future, hidden influence, independence not owned by the deep state. See, the cards always agree that he's independent and not owned by the deep state. So, yeah, I don't think he's losing his base. Ace, I think they're questioning him, and yeah, he's losing maybe a small percentage of his base, but there's no big loss of base here. There's no big loss. And here's what's interesting. See the strength card there and the temperance? I feel like he's done enough good, and there's been enough evidence of the good he's doing and has done, that people will kind of ride through this. They've also been watching this unfold, especially if you've been also following Q and the Q drops. And in this community, you've also known that we're watching some serious 5D chess here. And that includes what we're watching right now. That's what I think anyway. And I feel like that'll save them. And I think a little bit, and a little bit of people obviously shifting, right? And I've even noticed like my Telegram got a little smaller. Like I feel like a lot of people are dropping off just because this has been long and drawn out and it's difficult and painful, especially lately, right, to watch the shenanigans. So I think that's just in general, maybe there's a percentage of people dropping off in general, just even paying attention because they're just sick of the shenanigans and the theater of it all. And you can't blame them. But see that ace there? I feel like it's more people questioning, and it's getting people talking about and questioning what he's doing. And I almost think that's what they want. I really do. I believe that the alliance that actually runs what we call Trump. So it's actually a brand. Okay, it's not actually the human Trump at this point. That person doesn't even show up at these events. That's never the real Trump for, I think, years. I think we've not seen the real Trump in at least a year, maybe once or twice last year. That's for reals. And maybe right around the time he got in again. But for the most part, he's in the background and likely working with the White Hat Alliance. I mean, I would assume that, and I would hope that even. But, we're definitely not seeing him out front. Okay, so it's a brand, and it's run by White Hat Alliance. So I don't even like to say, oh, Trump did this and Trump did that. No, White Hat Alliance are making moves. Military moves are being made in a big war situation where the deep state is being taken down strategically. And it's, I'm sure, tricky business. Anyway, none of this looks like he's really losing much of a base. Yeah, so and just like I got before, they trusted the strength of, how he got to where he got in the first place, and the strength of years of proving that he's not part of the deep state. Okay, they're trusting that pulls them through, and it does look like even the people that step away, a lot of them will come back. He'll probably even get all the other guys too. Once they realize just what a shit show everything really, all politics really is. I feel like, not that everybody will be for Trump or even like him. His personality is sometimes hard to like. But I feel like they'll at least understand what the White Hat Alliance, I think we're coming to a time when we'll at least understand that that's who's really in charge, and really the work is to get us free from the deep state. Okay, but then we're going to need to use discernment going forward and recreate the system that we want because we have to dismantle what we don't want. It's being dismantled. But then we're going to have to actually create something we all agree to want. So that, yeah, it's going to be work. Okay, now this one's interesting. Somebody was wondering who had a friend, a person they knew on this helicopter. So a Chinook helicopter went down on August 6th, 2011. I think they called it, it's a very weird title, Extortion 17. Okay, this was the, I guess, the deadliest day in the Extortion 17 Chinook crash. Why would they call it Extortion 17? I'll have to look deeper into that. Anyway, so this crash happened and 30 soldiers were killed, 17 of which, interesting with the word 17 and then Extortion 17, that number 17, which is of course Q in the alphabet, the 17th letter. 17 of these people that died were Navy SEALs. Okay, so the person wanted to know, really, did the Navy SEALs actually go down? Because there's been a lot of speculation that they didn't, and that they might be in some kind of, they might be in some kind of hiding. And even the other soldiers. Did any of these people die in this? How much of this was true? So the story we got and how much of that was true, we'll start there, and then we'll look at deaths versus underground and hidden. We're gonna start with how much of the story's true first. We'll start there. So when you read up on it, you'll need to read up on it. Okay, go do some research on that. Let's have a look. Well, we've got an ace there, so there's definitely truth to the story. Now we've got the Fool, but the ace is really creative. So that's a creative ace. Let's keep looking. Okay, I'm going to see what's underneath this card because I'm not convinced this means yes in this case, just because of it's such a creative card. 3. Oh man, there's 2 aces. Okay, wow, that does look true. I'm thinking it did go down. I would say some of this is definitely true. Some of this is true. Now we've got the 3 of Wands here. We will know the full truth, but it won't, it could be months away before we know. Here we've got the Fool. So I don't think every single word is true, but there's truth to it. And a helicopter like that did go down. I think, it's not confirming deaths happened, but we'll ask the death card in a minute. See that 4 of Pentacles there? So they're withholding a lot. So a lot of why, where it went maybe, why and who was affected, maybe even who created it, might not be true. So they're withholding a lot of information, but the basic fact that this helicopter went down absolutely is true. Okay, now this is interesting because even in 2011, I feel like the White Hat Alliance might have been involved in that. Somehow the White Hat Alliance was involved, either targeted in this and or literally involved in the whole, like it's starting to look like it might be at least partly not true. Okay, so let's have a look at, so some of it's true. The physical fact that a helicopter went down that was called that looks true. Let's look at people dying. How many people, did all 30 of those soldiers die? Did some of them not die? What about the death count? That would be quite an operation to hide that many soldiers, and get all their families on board, hiding them and keeping them, quiet about it. To me, that seems, but I don't know, right? Okay, so it's partly, so some people did die, but we've got the Wheel of Fortune, which we could mean only 10, not to say 10's too many. Okay, I'm not saying, I don't mean it like only 10, but 10 out of 30, that's a lot less than 30. Okay, so I'm thinking 10 people might have died. I'm also thinking that, yeah, the reason for so the whole story around why they were where they were, what they were doing, that doesn't feel true. I'm thinking 10 people were not, sorry. So that leaves 20 people still alive and had to surrender their identities and life and families to go into hiding. They had to change their whole life. So it's almost like they died. Wow. That is wow. And it feels like it was really thought necessary. So they're gone underground, undercover. And it was thought necessary, but 10 people did die. So fascinating. Huh. And then the hermit. I even think some of these people are hidden, possibly other dimensionally. So I don't know if that's off-world. Do I mean on another planet? But I'm not sure how things work, right? Or is it underground in Middle Earth? Oh boy, so hard to say. But somehow the Alliance was involved in the hiding of the other 20. Now, I wonder why they had to say 30 people died. Wow, you could do a whole show just on that. That looks like something for a deep dive. Okay, yeah, so some of those people did die, but not nearly as many. And yeah, so the mission there might have been some really creative things like made up about what they were really doing. It looks like the actual physical helicopter did go down though. Okay, now let's look at the weather reports. So there's been reports. So somebody wrote in, they were from Arkansas, I believe, and they said the weather, when you watch the Weather Channel, was saying it was 110 degrees, I believe, is how they say it. We say Celsius here in Canada, but that's a different thing. So this is in the US, so I'm thinking it's degrees. Okay, and let me know in the comments, do I have that right? And then it was really 89 degrees. So this person was saying that consistently the weather is reporting much hotter than it actually is. Then, of course, I looked into it a little bit, and I got Coco to look into it. There's also all kinds of evidence that they're using visuals to make things look hotter. They're using that hot red color, the orangey colors. They're using, today it's 32 and they got the big exclamation mark, or 31. And apparently these are pretty usual numbers for these areas, but they're acting like it's never been that hot before. Like, just look at the visuals here. They're making it look like everything's on fire with how hot it is. Hang on. I got the Wheel of Fortune just popped out, so that's interesting. Okay, so what I want to know is, do we still have deep state trying to push the change in the weather? What are we going to call it? Where we're somehow creating like more like CO2 is carbon dioxide is actually creating that. Farts from cows is creating the weather or the planet to heat up. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. So the weather hoax, or the hoax that the world is absolutely unnaturally heating up. Okay, I believe that's a hoax myself. I've actually seen the opposite. Calgary's it's getting more severe in a way, but it's either really, really, really hot for very short amounts of time or incredibly cold when I was living there. So it was actually, and the cold would come a lot sooner in my understanding of weather. I feel like we're more likely moving into a mini ice age than heating up. So anyway, what I'm asking here is this trend in the weather reporting being reported from deep state as a nod to how these global changes are, ruining our environments, etc.? Is it a nod to the weather hoax? Is it a nod to the climate hoax? Or is it actually the White Hat Alliance showing us how they do this and making it so obvious with the visuals and everything? Also, even literally reporting 110 when it's 89. Okay, that was quite a big difference there. You know what I mean? And especially if 89 in Arkansas at that time of the year is perfectly normal. Okay, it's been like that for years. And they're trying to, it's like they're creating all this fear. They're fear mongering just like they did during the COVID, pandemic times. Okay, so let's have a look. Who's doing it? We got Deep State doing this. They still in charge of the weather reporting? Okay, let's see. Wow, well, they certainly were in the past, and that's absolutely. No, I feel like right now, the Alliance is in charge, and they're outing what the deep state players did. So this is more the outing of, and they're getting people to come to the truth of it themselves. So they're getting people to understand. So they're helping people use their own intuition, like that person did. They phoned their friend and said, how hot is it where you are? Because they're reporting 110. And then the person said, no, it's 89 here. Okay, so people have their own, ways of checking these things. You can have your own thermometer or whatever and find out that it's not what they're saying it is, and also, of course, all those visuals they're using. Yeah, so things are not changing much according to this card. Okay, they're not changing much, but it feels like there's that disappointing trend, blaming it all on us, blaming it on cow farts, blaming it on, just any way they can extort more money from us. Okay, that's what these guys were up to. Okay, they were gaslighting regular folks instead of really getting us to look at or helping us understand that huge corporations are, in fact, harming the environment, but everyday folks, not. You know what I mean? And certainly not cows hanging out. You know what I mean? So the whole cow thing, of course, was to take all the farmland and turn us all into 15-minute cities. That's the whole reason they'd be blaming it on the cow farts. You know what I mean? Instead of huge corporations, spewing into the oceans and spewing into the environment. No, they're going to blame it on cow farts. Yeah, and just regular folks living their life. Okay, so that's kind of what I thought that was going on there. Now, Tamara Leach, L-I-C-H. I think Leach is how I'd say that. Okay, so she was one of the organizers and certainly at the front lines of the trucker convoys. Okay, and for whatever reason, they're really stretching this out and playing it out, even though it was found that the emergency that was called, so the Canadian Emergency Act was called right in the middle of this, as if it was like some big threatening demonstration across Canada, when in fact it was a whole bunch of really, 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 really good people, and mainly truckers and people in trucker families, I guess. But also all of Canada came out for it, really, just regular folks, lots of families were really just demonstrating against the lockdowns and forced jabs. And it actually made me so proud to be a Canadian. And of course, they had to highlight this woman and one fellow. And these people are getting some big sentencing after some moronic judge. And let's find that judge's name. I believe it's a woman. We need to find her name and spread it everywhere, because she's obviously a deep stater or a weffer. You know what I mean? But anyway, they're trying to say she could get up to 7 years, this woman, for her part, in something that was already pretty much known to the public as really a great thing for Canada, but of course they're still playing it out. Okay, so I'm wondering, is any of this real, to do with her court case, to do with, it looks real and it's scary. But if you've been following what I've been looking at for a really long time, it kind of looks like, even on the day she got arrested originally, I felt like it was all theater. Okay, is it still theater? Or are we actually going to see this woman spend some time in jail? Let's have a look. Like literally what they really have her on is a misdemeanor. Okay, but they're hyping it up, of course, like they do. It's like they're using our court system, just like, well, I'm sure it's been a criminal system for a really long time. I mean, it's criminal. All of our governments are criminal. That's what I think this whole time is about. It's been outing that all of us are in these systems that have nothing to do with justice, nothing to do with anything good for humanity. It's all, meant to oppress and keep us all down and really stupid is really what they're trying to, they're basically treating us like we're complete idiots. Okay, but anyway, so here, this is interesting. See the Three of Pentacles there? That's in the past. So she's working together with some people. Everybody's in on this. The judge is in on it. Tamara's in on it. I think this is a white hat alliance. I think we got a psyop on our hands. I think they want people to get really, really shocked. They're out to shock people. I feel like they are going to give her some years, okay? But I don't believe she'll spend any of them in jail. I feel like, no, I feel like this is a white hat op, and it's a psyop, and it's put on by part of the theater that is what we've been watching. Thank goodness. But something shocking will come out of today. But the shock will be to regular folks who are just, like this is part of the wake-up call. I feel like they might just give her some years here, it looks like. I don't think they'll give her all 7, but they're going to give her some years. And really for a misdemeanor, it's absolutely shocking. And a lot of people are going to yell about it. And it's really meant to wake people up. So I think she's in on the theater and she signed up for this. Yeah, there we go. She's an actor in on the theater and signed up for this. So this is all playing out, so we could understand what these guys have been up to and how they do what they do. Okay, so that's a psyop. And I've been getting that steady. Like a lot of people get really grumpy that I get, that's how the cards read it. But it's like, sorry, buddies. It's a pretty deep psyop at this point. So deep. If I'm right, it's unbelievable that they've been getting away with this stuff. Like, whoa. Okay. How much longer? Here's a good one. We're going to end on this one. How much longer will we need to watch this political theater? Yeah, that was a good question. I was like, yeah, I bet everybody wants to know that, because this is just getting old. When I did a year look at 2025, remember I got as a big hidden influence was the tower, and that's systems coming down. And the closer I looked at it, it looked like all the systems. So sometime this year, and you can already see it, nobody believes anything anymore. They're even doubting the White Hat Alliance, and I don't blame them. You know what I mean? There's a lot of doubt everywhere about everything. Okay, but it is creating a whole group of people and adding to that group daily, I believe it's being added to, of independent thinkers that are actually using their intuition, their own personal logic, common sense, and they're figuring stuff out themselves, which that can't be bad, you guys. That's got to be, I believe that's the goal of the universe. It's why we're going through all of this. That's my belief. But let's have a look. How much longer will we actually have to be in this, watching this theater, especially the political part? It's just so hard to watch. I just want to see these guys coming down. It's painful even. Okay, so we've got the sun, and wow. So it will come down. Yep, it will. That says we'll get our wish. We will be in that golden era. Just a better time for humanity. That's wonderful. These two cards are wonderful. We'll get there. Here we've got the Page of Swords. We're not there yet. We've got surrender in the middle. So a big part of the holdup is how many people don't have a clue about what's going on. But yeah, isn't that interesting? The world, all of a sudden, everyone comes on page. So something must be happening here that creates everybody. So by the end of the year, I feel like we're done this theater. I feel like things really speed up, and they've been speeding up actually since May. So that makes sense to this card. And there's a speeded up card here. I think we get a lot done between now and the end of the year, where we're done. The curtain calls by the end of the year. Yeah. That's looking like. I think we're still in line for that Tower card being the hidden influence for the year. So I'll say it like that. And yeah, as you can tell, I've still got crazy, stuffiness. It's just really needs to be done with this. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, and for all your well wishes. It's 2 p.m. in Eastern Canada, but I'm 3 hours before that. So yeah, you guys remember that, right? I'm Pacific Coastal. Okay, so look at this. Oh my goodness. So this is today, and we've got 2 major arcanas already. And it was kind of like this weekend. Didn't you think so far this weekend, you guys? Or well, I guess we're done the weekend. Now we're Monday. But the Hanged Man, it did feel like it was like we were left with all of that silliness around the Epstein situation. And then all the news of flooding, etc. So last week was absolutely full of those kind of things. But this weekend, kind of nothing too, a whole bunch of stuff in the UK that's just alarming. And I want you UKers to chime in, like so much alarming things coming out about King Charlie Pants there, who I believe he's been rounded up. So I think the White Hat Alliance is using Charlie Pants to out their agendas. And it makes a lot of sense when you see him running around the UK, opening Islamic centers, etc., dressed Islamic, and actually like singing the praises of that religion when his own people are in a lot of trouble because of the influx of, and it's not like a nice mix of all kinds of peoples isn't a good thing, but when you get literally thousands dropped into your country illegally or not in the usual way, okay, so not in a process, okay, nobody's processed any of those people, they just get dropped in there, and there's all kinds of trouble, like it's just causing so much trouble all across Europe, but we've especially heard about it this weekend going on in the UK. And then we got Starmer, I've been sharing all kinds of videos. He's blabbity-blang about, we got to give these people housing. We're going to basically take away a repurpose, I think he called it, some of the housing that normally would be reserved for long-time UKers, like actual people that born and raised and or raised their kids there, like have been there legally for many, many years, not these hordes of single men they're getting in all of these hotels. And then some hotels are reserved, I heard, for, and this is also going on obviously in Ireland, Scotland, like all over Europe, actually, Germany, the Netherlands, like horrifying stuff. And I've talked about this before, and I really find it's an agenda of some kind to wake people up. I really do. Okay, so that was mainly the news, but this card here says we didn't hear much new news because we've been hearing that for years. So we know that's a problem, but it's really been ramping up in the news cycles and on X anyway, in the news I watch anyway. So let me know if you're from the UK. Do you literally go out your door and see some of this stuff? Or is it mostly just in isolated areas? Do you think they're filming some of this and then exaggerating it? Or is it in fact every bit as bad as how it's being put forward, certainly on X and Telegram? Okay, so let us know. Yeah, the rest of us really just want to know, because I'll tell you what, they were like, just to give you an example of how much BS news goes on and how they exaggerate. There was supposed to be like quantum, like amazing, terrifying flooding in Calgary again. They were even saying as bad as 2011 when the whole city flooded. And it turns out, I talked to several people in Calgary and they said, no, there was isolated flash floods, which have always happened there, happen every year, certain times of the year. And probably because it's so dry there, the water doesn't, maybe there's a lot of clay that it ends up on. I don't know what happens, but it doesn't absorb fast enough for the amount that's coming down. So you'll get a downpour and then you'll get a flash flood and somebody's basement will flood, or 10 basements will flood. That's what happened in very isolated spots. Okay, and not all over the city like in 2011. And that was completely fake news. Okay, so I'm suspecting, because I've seen this several times in the cards, say a lot of the news around flooding all over the US, yes, they definitely had flooding, but they've been really taking and running with these stories and exaggerating it. So, you know, what agenda is going on there, I wonder, right? Like, so many different things could be at play there. I think they're trying to show you just how the media plays with stuff like this and plays it up. And I think locals from the areas that are actually seeing boots on the ground, what's happening, you know, exactly what's going on, and showing us their personal photographs of it. That would be, I would take the word of locals on the ground, obviously, a lot more than I would take the word of any kind of medias at this point. Even truth or medias at this point. But anyway, so here we've got the 5. So we're frustrated because all of that stuff got dropped on us about Epstein, and like it got crazy where we don't know if we're coming or going. Is Epstein still a thing? Is it a big cover up? There's so many different stories about what could be really going on there. White Hat Alliance wise, like, why are they doing this? A lot of people are thinking and dropping Trump and throwing him under the bus and thinking that, you know, they're taking his literal words. Like, you never take Trump's literal words, especially when he says outrageous things. It's always a calm. But anyway, yeah, so there's a lot of frustrated truthers. There's a lot of people probably even in this community just don't know where to turn or how to look at it, right? So that's when I say just stay strong. Stay strong. That's where we need to be right now. Things are actually going according to plan, according to this layout. Okay. And they gave us a little reprieve on the weekend from major news. I mean, there was some major news, but nothing groundbreaking like there was last week, right? Nothing as crazy as that Epstein stuff. Okay. Yeah. And with that 6 in the middle, so it gave people a little time maybe to figure out what's really going on. Maybe sit with your intuitive knowing with that strength card. Here we've got the star. So by the end of the evening, we should have a really good story. We should have a good story out there, because we're starting on a whole new news cycle, and it could be financially related, and it could have something to do with vulnerability financially. So maybe a bank going down, banking system going down, some kind of story around that, or we inch a little closer to maybe the death of the system, the way it stands financially, because this card is a vulnerability card, and this is like news on the financial front. Okay, and there has been a lot of news on the financial front. It's been very interesting and kind of a mixed bag. Lots of places are now announcing. I believe it was in Australia. And again, this is what we're hearing. So let us know, boots on the ground in Australia. Are they telling you at your local bank that you can't take out cash? Okay, so there looks like there's another push for bank CDC. Is that what it's called? A CDC. Sorry, but a bank coin, basically. That's like a virtual coin, and that it would prove that the deep state is trying to put across their own coin that would be like banker run. Okay, so it looked like they were going to try that again, or at least they were making those motions. Let us know if you're from Australia. Is that the case? Or it could just be outing and maybe even putting out a little test bubble to see how the public will react to that. Because I feel like they're really like testing us. We're being tested. I think it's the universe testing us. Honestly, I do. I don't even think, I think it's beyond white hat alliance, Trump team, capitulated governments. I think it's the universe at this point testing. What will humans finally say no to? Anyway, so nothing too groundbreaking here for the day. Let's look at the 22nd. So now we're looking at July 22nd. So that's Tuesday. There we go, July 22nd. Let's see how that looks. By the way, the kitties are getting along a lot better. Betty's hissing less, and even they're sniffing each other's noses. We knew it would happen. I'm feeling much better. I'm only coughing every once in a while, so that's a good thing. Yeah, that was a doozy, and thanks for all your advice and well wishes and ravens, everybody. Okay, so now so I think it evolves from the 21st. Now we move into the 22nd. We've got the Emperor, which is interesting. So there's a big system that could be a banking system right next to the 10 of Pentacles. So the banking system. This is interesting. We've got the Hermit in the past. So it does look like whatever we're going to be seeing that appears like maybe the natural, like coming down of the banking system, because that's a death card. So we further see some kind of maybe news that, are further proof that the banking system's coming down. And that's not everyone's going to notice that. But I think this group, because we're onto that and we've been watching it for years, it's like in slow motion, this banking system's crashing. It feels like we're going to see more evidence of that, but the general population doesn't really notice. Okay. And then here we've got the Hermit Alliance card. So we're seeing it, but it feels really managed by the Alliance, which is, that's good news, actually. And here's the near future. We've got the Judgment card. So by the end of tomorrow, Judgment. So another thing looks like it's developing. It feels like some kind of, so this is stepping away from or leaving somebody behind. Somebody looks like they're really getting thrown under the bus. And the somebody feels like a really outspoken person, maybe in politics or in the world, really outspoken, but it feels like they really get, by the end of day tomorrow, a woman, and I don't know who this could be. I'll pull a clarifier to see if we can figure out who this is, but it feels like it's a woman who's really in the public eye, and could be political, actually, with this card here. But we've got the Judgment card, so I feel like a really big either piece of news about this person or a really big story that makes them look really bad. And I mean, we've been watching several people. Pam Bondi, for instance, last week was really, the news was all over and kind of blaming a lot of things on Pam Bondi and making her look really bad. And I don't know what exactly they going to do with both Pam and Kash Patel. I feel like Kash Patel is yeah, he's like, they're both seem to me they're going to take them out in that whole debacle with the Epstein. And remember what I was getting around that. Part of the reason they stepped back a lot on the Epstein file stuff, and they're spinning it all kinds of different ways, but part of the reason was they were being threatened in the war. But anyway, so I feel like maybe further diminishing Pam Bondi here, and or somebody who's really outspoken these days in the news, and it somehow relates to the kind of politics that this group watches. So it seems to me it's likely in the US. Okay, so they're going after somebody, and that's on the 22nd, and it looks like a woman. And yeah, they'll have, it'll look like that person's getting taken down. Okay, now let's look at the 23rd. So July 23rd. So now we're Wednesday, July 23rd. There might be more flooding somewhere. This feels like earth, and it's more nature and earth, maybe with a little help, because I have been getting a lot of this flooding is naturally occurring, but because it was set up by something in the past, like some kind of HARP situation already created maybe the much more rain than usual in certain areas. And then it naturally creates all of this rain and flooding. But it, originally, the rain didn't come naturally, if that makes any sense. So it's like a combination. And that card kind of feels like that to me. This feels like it's a combination. So it's like they set something in motion. Okay, I don't know if that's good guys, bad guys, but things get set in motion, and then all kinds of things happen in the weather. They're naturally occurring, or they appear to be naturally occurring, but they were begun or set in motion unnaturally. Okay, so I don't know if I'm making any sense there, but that's what I've been getting about weather things. Yeah, it feels like there could be some potential big flooding. Again, be careful. I feel like it's in the US as well. Be careful, though, about the news around it, because I feel like there's a lot of exaggeration again. Really look into the quality of the pictures you're seeing, and try to find boots on the ground, people experiencing it, so you can get a real feel for what's actually going on. There will be flooding. I do see that, but I don't think it'll be exactly how they're describing it. Oh boy. All right, so that's on the 23rd. So let's look at, wow, I wonder, the watch the water thing. I wonder if that all means we're getting close to the end of this horrific movie. It turned into a nightmare movie. It's turned into a nightmare movie. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the 24th. So now we're Thursday, the 24th. Let's have a look. This is like looking in a new direction, some kind of big announcement or news or reveal maybe around UFO and or otherworldly, other dimensional being activity, something. So some kind of reveal here. around what's been hidden from us. And people could feel like, hey, they're finally telling us the truth about this. It's like the beginning, and they've agreed in the background to give us this much. So there seems to be a reveal around UFO or some kind of, there seems to be an agreement to give a little more truth to the general population, who's going to be quite happy to receive it. Okay, but it's certainly not the full reveal of everything the governments know, obviously, about what's going on. But it's in the right direction. It's a little step in the right direction, and they're both pages, so it's could happen a couple of different places in the world, but it feels like some revealing of truth to the general population, and it will be true, but it's certainly not the whole picture. And it's been agreed upon by maybe even a couple of different agencies coming out with this to tell us more truth about what's been going on the UFO front, and or on the front of, or how much the government actually knows about UFOs, everything related to off-world craft, other dimensional craft. Maybe it's they're even coming from deep underwater, where, we don't know exactly what direction there's underwater, there's underground, but crafts have been visiting here, and there's a whole lot of energies and entities living among us that are not necessarily from here, Earth plane. Yeah, so I think we're going to get a little more truth around that, or some kind of a reveal there, but it's not going to be groundbreaking, but it'll be certainly a step in the right direction for truth. So let's look at, so that was Thursday. Let's look at the 25th. Yeah, so this is Friday the 25th. Oh boy. Let's have a look. So a continuation and lots more discussion, it looks like, about whatever was revealed the day before. I feel like there's a lot of people hashing it over and looking at it. Also more, like a lot of people talking about the flooding. So even though the flooding didn't happen that day, now we're really hearing more about it. And again, because that's the general population hearing about it, watch again, of course, how they spin it and what they're saying, and look at the photographs really carefully. A lot of times these are AI generated photographs. Of course, I'm not saying the flooding won't happen, but just how severe it is or how it's impacting could be exaggerated. And that seems to be a real trend right now. So just so you know, keep an eye on that. And it doesn't take away from people that lose their properties, like lives are lost, pets are lost in these floodings. I'm not trying to take away or diminish that. I'm just saying, in general, the way they're putting it, I don't know why they're using it, but it is interesting that it seems to get really blown out of proportion. And I'm thinking it's to out how they do these things and how the news handles it, and how it gets blamed on global warming, or global changes in the weather. I don't think they call it global warming anymore, but anyway, and just what a big hoax that's turned out to be, because a lot of these things start out, it looks like they're trying to blame it on that, but so many truth channels get in there and show us really the truth about that. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. When I see it on X, it feels like 15 different posts will come right after somebody blames it on global warming, and then all of a sudden it's really debunks the global warming. Anyway, I feel like it's all by design and by White Hat Alliance. So continued talk about that. And we've got the Fool here. So we're moving into the weekend. We're moving out of the flooding cycle. We might even have some reveals about how remember at the beginning of the week, the financial, there seemed to have been some kind of reveal that the financial market's going down. I feel like it's still limping along. It's not all the way down, but there's continued talk of how that's going to be going down. So we still got financial woes, situations that are leading up to a financial collapse. So we'll see more of that, but also, and stories around that where people are having a hard time getting their money out of the bank, stuff like that. But I also get more warnings about, for some reason, they're really all over this flooding situation. So I get more flooding. So next week, we could see a lot more stories about flooding all through the week and even going into the weekend. So I'm kind of sad about that because, oh my goodness, right? That just means a lot of people are going to be affected. So sending ravens in my heart out to anybody who is affected in those floods. And, but again, watch for when they exaggerate and, try blaming it on global, weather changes. And whatever you do, share the truth about that hoax. Okay. The whole, how it's all, us humans been doing it. And I'm not saying there aren't things we can do, but instead of blaming it on the big corporations like they should, they literally blame it on the everyday folks. And then we're the ones paying the taxes for it, which none of that money, you better believe, all the money they collect for whatever, the carbon tax and the this tax and the that, none of that money is going anywhere near trying to help the situation globally around the earth with weather changes. None of that's going there, okay? Because first of all, it's all based in a hoax to begin with. When the weather is naturally changing, and I don't think we're affecting it nearly as much as a lot of people will have us believe. And that's not to say we shouldn't, take care of the earth and be careful going forward. But anyway, okay, everybody, I'm going to leave you with that. And I'll see you on Wednesday again with another, on Wednesday, I'll be taking questions. So by Wednesday morning, I'll be looking at all the questions you've put in the comment section on my website, and I'll pick 5 questions out to be asking on Wednesday. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care. Sending you ravens.
Let's hop into Mr. Epstein. I will just pull out his bio from Wikipedia. So he was born in January the 20th, 1953. He was an American financier and a child sex offender, born and raised in New York City. Epstein began his professional career as a teacher at the Dalton School, despite lacking a college degree. Mind you, that sounds very much like Emmanuel Macron. Background, so wink wink. After his dismissal from the school in 1976, he entered the banking and finance universe, and he was working at Bear Stearns in various roles before starting his own firm. Epstein cultivated an elite social circle and procured many women and minors whom he and his associates sexually abused. Convicted in 2008 by a Florida state court of procuring a minor for prostitution and soliciting a prostitute. He was convicted of only these 2 crimes as part of a controversial plea deal and served almost 13 months in custody with extensive work release. And Epstein was arrested again, July 6, 2019. That pretty much everybody saw that happening. Mass media, social media, everybody was talking about it, on federal charges for a sex trafficking of minors in Florida and New York. And apparently he died in his jail cell. Right here, you could see the image of where they found him in August 10, 2019. The medical examiner ruled that his death was a suicide by hanging. So first of all, finding that much material in a jail cell is very astonishing. So let's begin to chat about Jeffrey Epstein. So before we start pulling cards with my research that I've done, I have this article from ABC News. So Epstein said a couple of weeks before his death, like two or 3 weeks, I think it says here. Yeah, 2 weeks before his death, that he was not suicidal. So he told to the BOP, which is the Bureau of Prisons psychologist, that he was not suicidal at all. And I even found an interview of Jeffrey Epstein's brother that we hardly talk about. And when I was doing my research on him, his wealth, his name is Mark Epstein, his wealth as well is as a mystery of like Jeffrey Epstein's wealth. So nobody knows where he comes from. It's very odd, like information here and there that suddenly they're full-on-fledged wealthy. So anyways, I found an interview of Tucker Carlson. Is that his name? Yeah, Tucker Carlson. And Mark Epstein gives his 2 cents. I don't hear you, Janine. Oh, there you
I
go.
just said Carl Tuckerson, which I used to always say his name wrong.
Yeah, I remember that. So yeah, he gave an interview with Tucker Carlson. And I just want to give this little snippet to everybody. And we will continue on this journey of going down the rabbit hole. So just tell me, everybody, in the comments if it's a 5x5.
Not now. No. When I first heard he was dead from suicide, I had no reason to doubt it. So I accepted that. But then after the autopsy and after Bill Barr made that asinine statement, I said, this was not a suicide.
But when you first heard the news, you thought it was a possibility that he killed himself.
Yeah, I accepted it as a fact. I heard it on the news. The government didn't notify me, as they said. I heard it on CNN in the morning of the 10th.
And you're his only survivor. You're the only surviving relative.
Yes. He has no children and our parents are gone. And there's no other siblings.
When did you start to think that he did not kill himself?
Well, after the autopsy and both pathologists, the city pathologist and Dr. Barden, came out of the autopsy and they said, this doesn't look like a suicide. It looks more like a homicide.
So what did you do then?
Well, I figured we'd have to look into this and see what's going on.
Were you shocked that he might have been killed?
It came as a surprise. Yeah.
So as his only surviving relative, what did you do to find out what happened to him?
Well, I started to inquire about what took place. The Justice Department was supposedly investigating. The initial death certificate said pending when it said cause of death, which means pending further investigation.
Yes.
So, but then a few days later, it was declared a suicide by the chief pathologist who was not at the autopsy. And the questions became, what investigation was done in such a short period of time to make her determine it was a suicide, or was she basing it on Bill Barr's statement?
And who was the chief pathologist who made that declaration?
Dr. Roman.
That was the pathologist who was there.
Coisas bizarras que foram encontradas.
So, what I understand from my research, that the Epstein family hired this, how do you call it? It's not forensic. That's the word I was looking for. Forensic pathologist. And his name is Michael Baden, Baden, Michael Baden. And with his research, he was in direction, he independently did his forensic research on the body as well and took a look at the whole situation and compared his analyze with the doctor that Mark Epstein informed said that it was a suicide. And he's confirmed as well, and he went to court as well to confirm that it was not a suicide and it was a strangulation, because the marks on his neck, because usually, like they were saying, that if you do hang yourself, the marks go in the back of your ears, but the marks on his body of Epstein, apparently, allegedly, was straight around his neck, and the bones that break when you do get strangled. They explain exactly what bones were broken, and that was the bones that were broken on his body as well, and not the ones on your upper jaw when you suicide yourself. So my question is, with this forensic pathologist, is I want to know, is this person, Michael Baden, who is he working for? I find that very intriguing that the Epstein family decided to hire him, and he came out with the truth, allegedly. Who is Michael Baden working for?
Wow.
Uh-oh.
Wow. Well, he could have been working for, this is interesting because that's my Trump and the White Hats.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe the theater was already in play, which would make sense. 2019, we were full on theater. Okay, since 2017 and probably prior, a lot of things that happened there, anything around in the US politics and even the world politics, I've been getting were theater. And maybe even since the beginning of politics, it could have all been theater. Like, that's how wild it is. But White Hat Alliance were already involved like 20 years ago in taking down these people. This looks like he was hired by the White Hat Alliance.
Really?
Yeah. And then you got, because that card came up, that's the who of it, right? Okay. And we've got the Queen of Cups in the past. So that's interesting. The Queen of Cups in the past, which could indicate who actually, maybe the past people might have been hired by somebody else. Like, I feel like maybe Hillary Clinton, she often comes up as this card, might have had something to do with whatever was presented in that cell and whatever they officially said was on the record. So this guy comes along and he's working for, it looks like, the White Hats. Interesting. So now we've got the 5. So yeah, the war was fully on then. We had the, they were draining the swamp. They were knee deep in draining the swamp. Epstein was a big part of it. So it actually looks like it was a tit for tat in the war. And who might have called it originally the death, or maybe they planned it as soon as he got picked up. What year did they say he got put in jail again?
2019, August of 2019.
19. And I wonder, was Hillary even still around in 2000?
He died in August 2019. He was arrested in July of 2019.
Okay, because it looks to me like the plan was put in place anyway to get rid of him by Hillary. So even if he, they just probably knew he was going to get rounded up. So even if she wasn't around anymore, she pulled the trigger on the order, is what it looks like.
No way.
Or wrote up the marching papers for his, getting rid of him anyway. So here we've got the 4 of Pentacles. That's interesting. So it looks like there's a lot of things unknown about this still going forward. And there's even things that they discovered with this guy that they really buried the information. So he probably had some really good points that weren't even discussed even in that interview. Like they really kept it on the down low or buried it, right? Because they were full on in the war here between, I bet the mainstream media was still largely deep state. We know that it's largely White Hat Alliance now, even though they still behave like deep state, almost on steroids sometimes. but every once in a while you can see the cracks where they're obviously controlled now by the white hat. At least that's what my cards have been saying for a really long time. But in these days, I feel like it was still thick in the fog of war. Yeah.
Michael Baden. Can we get a clarifier on, will they, the white hats, bring back Michael Baden to the spotlight to bring out the truth even more?
Soft, yes. So, or maybe something he wrote or information from him.
Okay.
His information, maybe not literally him on the scene.
Got it. Okay. Okay, thanks, Janine. And I had a comment here from Debzer. She specified, I can't find the comment anymore, but she specified the specific bones in the body. And I do have a clip from Mark Epstein, who is the brother of Jeffrey, during the Tucker Carlson show, that he explains exactly the hanging. Listen, that is not my expertise, but I'll show you this short little clip of him explaining it as well.
There's no videotape. The cameras were broken. The guards were supposed to be keeping watch were asleep. They were convicted of lying, but then they were pardoned by a judge later, apparently. And one still works for the federal government.
I believe so, yes.
Um,
I tried to talk to the guards. I couldn't get to them. I tried to contact them through their attorneys, and I couldn't get to them.
Okay, so then there was famously an investigation into this overseen by the Department of Justice's head investigator. Where's that?
Well, they came out with a report, a few months ago, and for 4 years we've been trying to find out what position his body was in when it was found, and we couldn't get an answer to that either. But in the report, it described how he was found. It said that he was in a seated position with his legs extended in front of him, and he was hanging from the top bunk. So if you picture that, basically all of his body weight, or most of his body weight, was hanging by this noose around his neck, or the ligature around his neck. He had some weight on his feet, but the bulk of his 180 some odd pounds was hanging. And they said when they cut him down or tore him down, his buttocks was an inch and a half above the ground. Again, which means his body weight was on his neck. Now, if somebody's hanging like that, the noose or ligature would ride up high on the neck and go high behind your ears to where it was tied to. But the autopsy photographs show that the ligature mark on Jeff's neck is in the middle of his neck and goes straight back, as if someone put a rope around his neck and strangled him, like Carlo in The Godfather in the car.
Or the electrical cord to his
or the
CPAP
electrical
machine.
cord or whatever was there, but it doesn't look like the fabric from a bed sheet.
So if it seems clear just from the photographs
Right.
of his autopsy that he was strangled with, say, a cord, wouldn't you test that cord for his DNA?
Yeah, nobody seems to know where that is. Also, the way they said he was hanging, and again, he had to be there for at least 2 hours. When you die, the blood in your body settles to gravity takes the blood down to the lowest parts of your body, and they become blotchy from the blood pooling under the skin. So the back of his legs and his buttocks should have what's called lividity. They should have this blotchiness, like bruising look on the back of his legs and his buttocks. The autopsy photographs show that his legs are clear. So he couldn't have been hanging that way for more than, for 2+ hours. He'd have blood pooling in his legs. But that's not.
Now, in the beginning of this interview, Mark Epstein talks about these two. They are the security guards that were surveilling the cell of Jeffrey Epstein. And I want to chat and pull cards on them. First of all, their name is Tova Noel and Michael Thompson. So they were there apparently the day that he died. And apparently, allegedly, they say that they falsified the government records and they fell asleep on the job and they were on their telephones I guess, navigating social media, whatever. So the prosecutors dropped the charges against these two correctional officers. And like Mark Epstein just said, that one of these two officers still has their federal job. So my question is, are they paid by the deep state? Are they handled by the deep state?
Looks like there was a lot of people involved in placing these two.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't think it's particularly. And this is interesting because this card says they came from a really unique source. And when I get like, and I from somewhere, so they came from. So maybe that means they were paid from, because that's maybe where they got their money, from a really unique source that wasn't US.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they were paid by a source outside of the US that was, and they probably did that on purpose so you couldn't trace them or whatever. But I'm almost getting like a Soros or something feeling about that, and or a bloodline family. So yeah, I would say deep state. And here's interesting. We've got the Knight of Swords. So I wanted to overview, overview the whole situation with the guards. Okay, so this is the Knight of Swords, and we got the Six of Wands here. So what were they really doing? I'm trying to get an overview feeling of what were they really doing. I feel like they had their walking papers and they were absolutely awake, and they could have even been involved in or made the way clear for who actually came in and killed them.
Yeah.
So they actually were, like, they did more than just not notice. They did more than be compliant. They actually let the killer in, and allowed him to be successful, whoever it was. It wasn't an American, though, it looks like.
No way.
And now this is interesting. We've got the star around it. So they used some kind of technology. There's some kind of technology in place that allowed this person in. These guys got him to the cell. So there was a lot of things working. Like, this is a huge orchestrated situation. And it could have been planned for a really long time. It was a plan, I think, that went into play.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they knew he was vulnerable, or because they would have known he was going to get picked up.
So it ties up to what you did as the first pull of Hillary pressing the button of like, okay, let's do this. And then boom, boom, boom. It came back to these two guards and letting in the killer.
Okay, I asked my mind to just give me what do I mean by this really unique place that's not US. I get Israel.
Oh, that's where Epstein is?
No, that's where so whoever was in the cell, and I'll say this. We didn't ask, was that Epstein in the cell?
No.
But the person they found dead in the cell and did the autopsies on, that person, all of that was orchestrated, it looks like, by Hillary had a hand in it, it looks like, or a woman with that kind of power as Hillary did in the deep state. And her uppers might have even been, so above her where she got her marching orders, could have been Israel. And that makes sense, because if she's she's obviously, or was, because I don't think she's still with us.
Mhm.
Definitely a player for the cabal and the deep state. Okay, so Israel being a big part of that and a big head of that snake, or one of the heads of that snake. Okay, so these guys were like a lot of energy was put here to get these guys in place, but they also used some kind of technology, maybe overriding the cameras, because I get a technology was used that's beyond our comprehension to get this killer in, but then they were compliant in letting him. So they just turned a blind eye and opened the cell and let him in and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, this is just like a movie. This is going to make a good movie in the future.
We should probably ask next, who was in the cell? Was that Epstein, the actor found hanging?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good question. Let's do that. Was it Jeffrey Epstein that was in the cell, or somebody else? That's a good question.
Yeah, because there's like an assumption that we're talking about him, but I don't know. The guy they pulled out of there, what we saw pictures, didn't have a nose or ears, anything like Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, I do have that. While you're pulling your cards, I'll try to find that image. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But that would have meant they would have had to scurry him out of there. And that's probably why we're getting this big orchestration here. A lot went into, and those two were paid to be compliant and just let it all happen.
And especially that other one of the two is still working for the federal government. Of course, it's totally orchestrated. Let me try to find that image. Is it this one right here? Pull it up before. There we go. Is it this image?
Yeah, that's the image. Wow, this is really interesting.
Uh-oh.
I said, is it Jeffrey Epstein? That's a big old yes.
Oh!
What? Whoa. Okay, so now we got the chariot, but hold on. So did he die there? And the hanged man, so he did wait there, yes, but then the chariot. I wonder if he was in the cell and got out of there really quick. We'll look what's under here. We're going to see these two cards are going to let us know, did he stay in the cell? So he was in the cell, okay, but did he get whisked out of there? And then they exchanged him for this guy. So we've got the 9 of Wands, the 5. Here's the 1. King of Wands in the World. Yeah, I think they took him out and hit him. And the death card, he's probably still alive. The death card's not done its full cycle yet. So that's interesting. But we do have the World here. So they put somebody else in. So they put this fire sign guy in there. He's also a well-known person. Now, I don't know who that would be. Maybe people know in the comments. And the other way you could read that is an actor. And then we've got the World. Okay, so I'm wondering if somebody was placed in there who was either already dead, so a body, so they killed him outside of the place. Like, that sounds like a lot of juggling around, though. The other way you could read it is, so he's an actor, and that means all the people doing the autopsies, they must have provided a real dead person for the autopsy, because none of this looks like you had an actual dead person. This feels like that guy got out of there alive too. He went around full circle. So they whisked Epstein out, leave this guy. He's an actor. He's got the marks. And somehow, because this 5 of, this isn't a death card here. We don't have a death card. So I wonder if an actor was left in there. Epstein was hidden underground and could even still be alive. Okay. And then an actor was left there and they were dealing with, I wonder if they put him used some drug to zombie him, like make him seem like he's dead. And then they autopsy. I don't.
Yeah.
Something
I understand.
weird happened. Okay.
Yeah.
That feels like he's this actor didn't die either. So now the person they took out just for the photo op, but they must have provided a dead body with a mark to the autopsy guys.
Oh. What the?
So yeah, they had Epstein whisked out of there.
Yeah.
So he was in there. He was waiting there. He waited. They whisked him out just hours or an hour before this all went down. Okay, and we've got the chariot here. So they hoofed him out of there. This guy gets placed in. This is an actor. This guy also makes it out of there. He comes around full circle. He makes it out of there. And they must have given them a cadaver with the marks.
Holy crap.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Holy.
Yep. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I was not thinking to go that direction.
Let's just say a whole lot of fooling everybody. Let's ask what's Jeffrey Epstein doing now? Let's ask that.
Yeah. Okay. And then after we'll come towards Kash Patel and Dan. So what is Jeffrey Epstein doing now?
So if we get the moon card, especially in the first three, well, he's passed. We do have the death card, but the death card isn't, believe it or not, death. Yeah. Unless it's coupled by the moon. If it has the moon across from it. Yeah, we got a death. No. Okay. So he's on his way. His life will never be the same. That's a transformation card. He's transformed. That could also mean he's been working for the good guy. So he's transformed or moved over to the other side here. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we've got the two. They had him in hiding.
Oh my gosh.
He's told a lot of truth.
Oh,
like as they keep him, like he keeps giving information on people.
Mm-hmm. Like Guinness Girl says, singing like a bird.
Yeah, he's going to get a lot. It's directly because of him. So the real Epstein files are out of his mouth. He's the Epstein files. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he's been secretly so he changed sides. And I wonder, when did he change sides? I wonder, did he change sides even before he got arrested? Was he working for now the good guys? Because we know he was working for the bad guys. Yeah, he's been doing lots of work, and he's going to be responsible for a lot of people facing their tribunals, or they already did because of him.
Damn. Did he change sides the moment that Trump got elected on his first president seat?
That's a yes.
Wow. Holy crap. Okay.
So he was already in place before they picked him up. They probably had arranged that, okay, we're going to arrest you. You know what I mean? And then this plan went into play that was already put in play by the deep state if this guy gets arrested. So I feel like we got some counter plays going on, and they had to really maybe they rescued him from whoever got him out of the cell.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, okay.
See, I think they were going to keep him somewhere. Who knows what they were? Maybe they were going to sacrifice him in their own way. Mm-hmm. And then in the public eye, sacrifice him by hanging him, supposedly, allegedly. They used an actor. And then they gave a cadaver. That's actually, it sounds convoluted, but
No, maybe it works.
something like that. It wasn't what it appeared, that's for sure. And he looks like he's still alive.
Okay. Now let's hop into Kash Patel.
Okay.
Let's do him. So we have this clip everybody saw. I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago. We'll show it again quickly.
I think it's safe to say that something very strange is happening. Last week, FBI Director Kash Patel told a congressional hearing that, yes, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Senator Kennedy asked that question, and we were like, wait, what? I'm sorry, what? Okay, really? And then over the weekend, Dan Bongino, Deputy Director of the FBI, and Kash Patel in an interview with Maria Bartiromo, because, they're only apparently allowed to do like Fox News interviews. Apparently that's like the only interviews you're allowed to do these days. They doubled down on this idea in a dual interview that Epstein did kill himself. Watch.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to get? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work.
The question is, why Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are taking this direction with the Jeffrey Epstein file? What is there to be informed by us? What do we need to know? Why are they taking this direction? After all of what has been pushed in our faces with the suicide attempt and the two guards, the forensic pathologist working on the body, apparently.
That's a gossip and innuendo card. So that's what they're doing. So if this was the Queen of Wands or the King of Swords, I'd say actually they're telling the truth. He did kill himself, which would make everything I just looked at wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, but that doesn't seem to be the case. This card says what they were doing, putting out gossip and innuendo. So they're throwing something out like a breadcrumb or something, getting people to look at it. Okay. Now here we've got the 4. That's all going to get turned around so that their information will turn around. And I feel like the truth will come out, and probably very soon, looking at that 4 of Wands. Okay, so we got the 5. I feel like both these guys have been on the bad side of this whole situation, and their brands. They're using their brands. So I feel like that they might be preparing to out all the people that actually are, like, they probably capitulated those 2 guys and got them their brands working for them. If that's actually them, it might be mask wearers. It might be, who knows? Okay, so I feel like they're part of the war, and part of the war was those guys capitulating. So they had to say that, and maybe they're preparing to out them and or use them somehow, because this is an op. This feels like an op. And the real truth will come out. That he didn't kill himself, but for whatever reason, and it's not really given me a reason other than gossip and innuendo, which it is gossip and innuendo, but it seems to be the beginning, like a soft exposure of letting you know who these guys are. Like we're letting you know we don't have they're not entirely on the up and up, those guys. I know people like them, but
yeah.
There's a whole lot, like most of the people working around Trump, they've all been on the really dark side of everybody's placed in politics, from the schools that, like these schools are deep state. Like these people are not to be trusted, any of them. People are always like, oh, Trump has bad taste in his, well, he doesn't have a choice. Everybody in high up in politics that he's could choose from, the whole pool is a bunch of deep staters, or would have been deep staters, or were deep staters if they were still alive, like capitulated people or whatever. So he doesn't have much to choose from. These guys aren't any different from, and I've been getting that for a while about those 2.
Yeah, for a long time. Okay, so for the last question, Jeffrey Epstein, and I'm asking this for everybody watching us right now. How can I put this question? What can the cards reveal, and what can we understand? What do we need to take away from this Jeffrey Epstein saga? What are the cards trying to tell us about this Jeffrey Epstein story? We all know about the island, Lolita Express, everybody that was around the circle near far from Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell as well. What are the cards going to reveal? Of what do we have to take away? What is this Epstein saga for?
Wow. Well, they're really working it into the theater or movie of this. Okay. And also a lot of what you think you know, like Jeffrey Epstein, when you think about, because that card comes up for him, nothing about his background probably was real. They have to really dig to find the truth about who was he really. Well, he certainly wasn't even a teacher. Yeah. They just placed him in those jobs. This guy was probably out of the deep state system, from a deep state family or a dark cult family. He was probably satanically ritually abused and created the monster that he became, just like Obama, you know what I mean, passed around and then did that. Now he does that to others, like in that whole system. And then because these rich guys, basically that one rich guy there, he gave them properties, and none of that was his. It was all like, it was all the deep state, the cult. It was the Khazarian mafia, whatever you want to call it, was like the bloodline families it belonged to, the money really. They all have, their money all goes back to these bloodlines. They don't really own stuff themselves. He didn't really own that island. They're just using his name. They used him for a front. He's just their go boy to take the fall and be the front of their operation. And I doubt if he was even that smart. Frankly, anytime I ever heard any interviews with him, and there's very few, to be fair, like I've only seen 2 actually, where he opens his mouth and says anything. And also like, just looking at him like energetically, like I have a way of looking at people, and I don't know, he doesn't seem very bright to me.
No, he literally sounds, when you listen to his like interviews, or you could find interviews of him when he was first arrested, and he sounds like a freaking dirtbag.
Yeah, I feel like they created him. So he's just a created pawn in the deep state dark cult. And they just used him. And then the white hats got hold of him and they used him. So yeah, this guy's not really a human anymore, frankly. And that makes sense to that card, right? His humanness is, taken right out of him. And at first, probably from his own family, right? There's people like that. Okay, so I don't know if their soul can survive that kind of a situation, and that would explain why they do what they do. Okay, so here we got the King of Wands here. So he was placed and given all this fame, but people much bigger and more powerful were, like this guy was puppeted right from the get-go. We've got the Chariot. So he was living this fast and furious life, just like Diddy. They did the same thing to Diddy. Diddy was probably exactly the same. Like, I feel like they're just trying to, like the whole saga is going to teach us just how they use these people. So the real evil is always lurking and holding like prop these guys up with their finances, with their, the real evil is somewhere behind these guys. These guys are the front for their evil empires, Okay, so we've got the 9 of Cups. So I feel like when all of the dust settles on this, the end result is going to teach us so much about how these guys do what they do. And they're going to use him and his whole saga, and they're already using it to really educate the general population about this stuff. People like you and I and anybody watching here, we've gone down the rabbit holes and done the research, but these people are the ones that don't want to do that. And I feel like this is a way they can learn it, without getting as deep as they're going to learn it through this being shoved in their face, basically.
Wow.
Right?
That
I
part,
didn't need this shoved in my face to know this kind of stuff exists, but I feel like it'll be a way they can get more to the normie population with what goes on in these cult, like how they use people, how they prop them up financially. It's not really their money. They do it with all the Hollywood people too.
whoops. Sorry about
Right?
that.
Yeah, they're just propping them up with the cult money. It's not really theirs. They're like, really being a really rich and famous person, I doubt if it's that fun. Like, if you're really in that level where you sold your soul to get there, you're owned by these guys. Like some actresses say, and even, the men and women say that they are raped before, like performers raped before shows, sexually abused, like throughout their entire career by the people that gave them their fame. Right? How is that in any way a life? Like, you're a slave, you're a sex slave, but you get to look like you're rich and famous. That's disgusting.
And more, because we're talking about this topic right now of trafficking, and I'm seeing here in the province of Quebec more of podcasters, young podcasters, like in their 20s, 30s, talking about this child trafficking, prostitution. So I find it's a good entry level for the normies to start digging in and to arrive at the level of, okay, Jeffrey Epstein, the islands, who is behind Jeffrey Epstein, who is controlling, who is the puppet master. I saw that in the comments. Who is the puppet master? And that's how it's going to, I guess, bring it up to the table for the normies to finally walk the walk and talk the talk and fucking smell the coffee. It is what it is, but it's happening real quick. Listen, Janine.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was so good. Everybody, thank you so much for deep diving up with us on this Wu investigation, Jeffrey Epstein. We have the spill with the tarot cards with
của G về thời Minh. Hẹn gặp lại quý vị và các bạn trong tập 172. Chào mừng quý vị và các bạn đã quay trở lại với kênh Kiến Thức Hệ Thống. Trong buổi tối ngày hôm nay, chúng ta sẽ tiếp tục theo dõi diễn biến tập 172 của truyện xuyên không ngược về thời Minh. Cuối cùng chính Đức chuyển sang tươi cười, ôn hòa nói: các anh bình thân, lúc cần cũng yên tâm. Hóa ra không phải là cáo trạng mình, chỉ là để hắn làm dối lên như thế. Lễ bộ thượng thư có thể không ngã đài rồi. Đức Cần vô cùng tiếc nuối, đột nhiên nghĩ đến vấn đề chấn chỉnh lại trị địa phương, trong lòng bỗng nhiên nóng lên. Đây chính là một việc béo bở nha, béo đến toàn thân chảy mỡ. Chấn chỉnh lại trị toàn bộ thiên hạ, nếu việc này đến tay mình, vậy thì sẽ thu rất nhiều lễ, xếp vào một vài thân tín, chỉnh bao nhiêu người. Đức Cần đang đứng bên lập tức xông ra cao giọng: Hoàng thượng, lời của Dư Quốc Công, lão nô vô cùng tán thành. Nói đến nghiêm túc chấn chỉnh lại trị, lão nô được hoàng thượng tín nhiệm quản lý ty đệ giám, thiết lập 3 sở một vệ, điều tra lùng bắt khắp thiên hạ, chính là một trọng trách. Lão nô nguyện phân ưu cho bệ hạ, cúc cung tận tụy đến chết mới dừng. Các đại thần nghe nói thế, một đám kích động cũng hòa theo vài câu. Chính thức hoàng đế cười híp mắt, đang định gật đầu, Dương Lăng vội vàng xông về phía trước một bước nói: Hoàng thượng, ý của thần chân chính đại trị thiên hạ, trước mắt không nên gây chiến. Hơn nữa phái quan viên đi điều tra, lề mề trị phần ngọn không trị được phần gốc là kế sách thực thi không tốt. Vừa nghe Lưu Cần xung phong nhận việc, đám người Dương Đình Hòa, Vương Hoa liền nóng nảy, đang muốn góp lời ngăn cản, lại thấy Dương Lăng ra mặt, trong lòng mừng thầm, liền dừng bước. Chính Đức càng lúc càng thân cận em rể tương lai này. Chính Đức làm việc toàn bộ bằng cảm tính, ý thích ai thì thấy người đó tốt, không thích ai thì thấy người đó khó ưa. Người có là trứng gà thì cũng có thể lấy ra được cục xương đấy. Vừa thấy là Dương Lăng phản đối, Chính Đức không cho là hành vi ngang ngược, hỏi: Dương Khanh có thường sách gì cứ nói. Lưu Cần thấy oan gia này phá hỏng chuyện tốt của mình, căm hận nghiến răng nghiến lợi. Dương Lăng không để ý tới, tiếp tục nói: Hoàng thượng, quan lại Bá Châu hổ bại như thế, quả thật là thối nát không thể tả. Toàn bộ quan lại hơn phân nửa đã tham ô, thần côn đào thạc hoành hành. Trong các châu huyện phụ cận kinh thành chỉ sợ khó mà tìm được địa phương như vậy. Là phong kỳ Bá Châu không tốt nên tham quan ôn lại, thiên hạ tập trung tại Bá Châu ư? Hiển nhiên không phải. Truy cứu ra, thật cho là có hai nguyên nhân. Một là trấn thủ thái giám Trương Trung là quan viên cao nhất Bá Châu, trên công chính, dưới ất loạn. Hắn đầu đầu tham ô, lừa gạt dân chúng, dĩ nhiên trên làm dưới theo, bọn quan viên học theo. Chính Đức nặng nề hừ một tiếng nói: Trương Trung này gây tai họa một phương, thực là tội ác tày trời. Nếu không phải dựa vào sách lược trấn an dân tâm vừa nhanh chóng vừa đơn giản của Dương Khanh, chấm nhất định bộ ba khoanh tay hắn, không thể tha thứ cho hắn. Nói xong, y liếc nhìn Lưu Cần đang đứng một bên trách: Lưu Cần, tỷ lệ dám lựa chọn người phái đi chiến thủ cần phải cẩn thận. Hạng người phẩm hạnh không đứng đắn, tham lam hung ác, phái đi là các phù đạo sẽ làm hại một phương. Ngươi dùng người không khéo đó. Lưu Cần thật mắng. Rốt cuộc đã kéo chuyện này lên đầu mình rồi, chỉ muốn dựa vào cái này mà muốn trèo lên mình ư? Nhưng đối mặt với hoàng thượng, y không dám lộ vẻ vui sướng, vội vàng quỳ xuống nói: Lão nô biết tội, lão nô biết tội, lão nô trưởng quản ty lễ giám, từ trên xuống dưới mọi việc phức tạp, Trương Trung kia xưa nay lại khôn khéo ôn hòa, lão nô không có thể nhãn, không biết nhìn người. Chính Đức hoàng đế nghe xong không khỏi bật cười mắng chửi: Tuệ nhãn, người thì có tuệ nhãn gì? Đủ rồi, về sau tận tâm hơn là được. Một câu này đã bỏ qua mọi sai lầm. Dạ. Đức Cần vội vàng đứng dậy, mang theo vẻ đắc ý, khiêu khích liếc Dương Lăng một cái. Dương Lăng nói: Kỳ thật việc này cũng không trách được Lưu Công Công, làm người khó dò, có một số ít người cả đời đều không nhìn thấu người khác. Khi Trương Trung ở bên hoàng thượng, khiếp sợ quy củ trong cung, sợ luật pháp, dĩ nhiên là theo quy đạo cách, không dám làm sai. Đến địa phương là một nhà độc đại, không ai dám quản, vốn là người không tham không ác, cũng sẽ dần dần nảy sinh lòng tham. Đây là chuyển biến từ thiện đến ác. Trương Trung vốn không phải là ác lang cất giấu móng vuốt, mà là khi đó móng vuốt của hắn chưa mọc ra mà thôi. Lưu Công Công lại không thể biết trước quá khứ tương lai, sao dự liệu được một khi hắn nắm quyền thì sẽ làm sằng làm bậy chứ? Lưu Cần cảm giác tóc gáy hơi chút dựng lên. Kiểu cầu xa tâm phần này y cũng từng nghe rồi, nhưng Dương Lăng nói tốt giúp y, giải vay cho y thì chính là mặt trời mọc hướng bắc, y không tin. Chính Đức liên tục gật đầu nói: Lời của anh Khanh nói có lý, vậy theo ý kiến của anh phải làm thế nào chấn chỉnh đại triều chính đây? Dương Lăng nói: Thánh nhân giáo hóa không tha luật pháp, Phật tổ Từ Bi cũng có kim cương trừng phạt. Pháp luật và kỷ luật nghiêm minh rất quan trọng, nhưng thực hiện như thế nào? Thần nghĩ chị không bằng phòng, lấy Bá Châu làm ví dụ. Nếu Trương Trung sợ luật pháp như khi còn ở trong cung như vậy thì sao có chuyện đó được? Chính là bởi vì mất đi trói buộc giám sát mới tạo thành quan lại hủ bại. Nếu chỉ dùng pháp luật tàn khốc làm chế tài đối với quan lại thiên hạ, chỉ muốn khốc phát chế tài, thương gân động cốt lại khó có thể trị tận gốc. Quan lại mới nhậm chức, sau khi nắm quyền to tại địa phương, mất đi lòng sợ hãi, ôm tâm lý may mắn, người trước ngã xuống sẽ còn người sau tiến lên, tiếp tục tham mô. Như vậy tham quan có giết cũng không hết. Những lời thuyết phục này chẳng những chính Đức nghe xong gật đầu, văn võ bá quan cũng tán thành. Thái tổ hoàng đế lấy nghiêm pháp trị thiên hạ, tham mô 60 lượng liền nộp ra nhét cây cỏ, dựng thẳng ở cửa nha môn để nhắc nhở quan lại. Bọn họ không phải hiểu rõ mà vẫn không giác ngộ. Những quan viên này cũng sợ hoàng thượng thật sự là một cuộc đại chiến máu tanh khủng bố quét sạch tham mô, quấy cho thiên hạ đại loạn. Dương Nhân ngừng lại một chút, tiếp tục nói ra những lời làm người ta kinh hãi. Cho nên thần nghĩ quan viên không kiêng nể gì, tham mô ủ bại là trách nhiệm của quan viên giám sát. Nếu lục qua thập tam đạo, đốc sát viện, an lâm viện, tuần sát cơ sở, vân vân, có những người đứng đầu các ty, vậy thì hạng người giống như là Trương Trung bất cứ lúc nào cũng lo lắng bị tấu lên trên. Việc xấu của hắn sẽ không thể nào che giấu trước mặt hoàng thượng được. Môn quan chính là tai mắt trong việc thực thi pháp luật của hoàng thượng, họ luôn đi đầu cho việc chống tham nhũng. Bởi vậy muốn chấn chỉnh tác phong và uy tín của quan lại, trước tiên phải chú ý đến cái gốc của vấn đề, phải thanh tra những nha môn hoặc tầm thường hoặc không có chí tiến thủ, hoặc tham mô ăn hối lộ, hoặc giúp kẻ khác làm điều ác, khiến họ có thể thật sự phát huy hiệu quả công việc, thì chuyện sóng yên bể lặng, thiên hạ thái bình chỉ là ngày một ngày hai mà thôi. Chính Đức mừng rỡ. Dương lặng khá lắm, đây chính là giúp ta trút giận. Đám quan lại nhắc từ này cả ngày tìm tật xấu của trẫm, biện pháp này rất tốt. Chẳng phải các ngươi muốn trẫm tự trách bản thân, sửa đổi nhận sai chăng? Vậy thì trẫm tự trách tội mình, tự xét sửa đổi, lưu cho thêm đám các ngươi miệng đầy nhân nghĩa đạo đức này. Rốt cuộc có bao nhiêu thành quan, bao nhiêu tạng quan, tự đập đá vào chân mình. Các người đáng lắm. Nhưng đám quần thần nghĩ không đơn giản như vậy. Trình đốn ngắm lục qua, thập tam đạo, đốc sát viện, an lâm viện, tuần sát ngự sử. Những nha môn này chính là trận chủ chiến giằng co giữa Dương Đình Hòa và Lưu Cần. Thế lực song phương cài răng lược, có nha môn có thế lực Lưu Cần chiếm giữ thượng phong, có nha môn thì có thế lực Dương Đình Hòa chiếm thượng phong. Tuy họ toàn bộ nha môn đều có nhân mã của đối phương, nhưng giằng co nhiều lần đến giờ vẫn chưa phân thắng bại. Phải nói bọn họ gần đây đúng là không có gì làm. Theo hai vị đại lão Dương, Lưu trong chiều minh thương ám đấu, gây bắn lén mũi tên, ta đâm trộm một thương. Những quan viên thuộc trận doanh nha môn môn quan này lẫn nhau, thường xuyên bị đối thủ nắm tóp được một vài sơ hở, đả kích buộc tội, do đó mà ngã ngựa. Toàn bộ quan viên nội chiến gây loạn, đó là trách nhiệm của